But there are a lot of people out there who, I mean, you're in such a unique position with your finger in your, with so much connection to so many different yoga teachers and yoga studios in the industry. But it does seem like there's a lot of anxiety out there right now about the change in the Yoga Alliance standards. So what do you think about this shift that is on the horizon?
Well, I think it is, thank you, first of all, for having me. I was wondering where you're going to finish that question. You're like, with your finger in the, like, in the what? In the what?
On the pulse.
On the pulse. The only place my finger ever is on the pulse, I promise. I'm a good girl. No, well, I mean, I think, as we all know, being yoga folks, yogapreneurs, yoga teachers, studio owners, business owners, our industry is changing really quickly right now. It's an odd time where the industry is shifting and maturing and just becoming something different than many of us knew it as 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right? Depending on when you started practicing and studying and teaching. And so I think that what overall is happening with the new standards is an effort to solve some problems that we're facing in the space. So does that mean that it's perfect? No. Does that mean that it potentially caused other problems at the same time? Yes. And at the same time, it is 100% a solution to things that we were really facing. So whether or not we like it or not, I think it's a reality that we all need to deal with and figure out how to play ball, how to play ball to the best of our ability, because it is something I really do think that what the Alliance is doing is necessary. I do not think that we would be better served if there were no standards in the yoga industry, right?
Good Lord,
right? But
imagine that.
Is out there, like it should be totally art, right? Who's to say this or that or the other? So what I think about the new standards, so in general, I think that standards are important, that standards are good. I think that there always has to be room for exceptions, in a space like ours, in an industry like ours, where there really were people teaching for decades before the Alliance even existed. There has to be loophole and process for them, those folks, to be heard and to be held. So that way we don't have this like us and them kind of a scenario, which is sort of happening now. There's like folks that are like, yeah, I'll do it. And then there's folks that are like, F that, I don't want any part of it because I know I'm good, or I know I'm trained, or I know how many hours I put in, and why do I have to play ball? So I find it very exciting, the opportunity when our community, our teaching community, really could potentially be together all in one place. Like the power that we would have, the information that we would have, the knowledge that we would have together. So in general, I think the Alliance is very necessary and important, and not perfect, of course, but the new standards for me are exciting. I think a few of the things that it does that are super positive, obviously making someone have to have a higher, greater amount of experience, in the room, in front of the room, before they're allowed to be training other teachers, I think is just kind of a no-brainer. Like, yeah, that's probably good for us.
This is the one that's causing the most panic, I think, because there have been ERYT 200s who've been training for years, and now they're like, I have to have a 500, and they might have thousands and thousands of hours of experience, but now they're being asked to do it through that, the school, which is very specific, and it has to be a Yoga Alliance school, and you can't have done it in India. So, there's the tension between the red tape and the desire for standards, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's very valid. And when I spoke with the Alliance yesterday, one of the things that they enlightened me to is that there are going to be what they're calling pathways to mastery, something like that. I might be butchering it, but they are very aware of the fact that there are folks who have put in the time, right? Because it's really just about, have you put in the time? And if you have put in the time, according to what I was told, there are alternate pathways for you to be certified and to get to the level where you can retain your ability to continue to do the things that you're doing and continue to be a lead trainer teacher.
That's
so
huge.
That was like, it was a huge exhale. And I go, well, I didn't hear a whole lot about it. And
what
I was told was that because of the timing they had to roll out the standards, and the next thing that will come that will have a big splash will be this sort of alternate pathway, because it is ridiculous to think that somebody has to like go back to school, you know,
Yeah.
and get trained by somebody maybe who's junior to them. I mean, that it's
Yeah.
ludicrous. Like,
Yeah. You know what I'm really excited about with the standards?
tell me.
I'll tell you. So what I'm really excited about with the standards is that you actually have to have all your training materials first, because I think that one of the biggest reasons why Yoga Alliance, there's two things that Yoga Alliance has seemed jokey about, and I honor them for all their work. I know they're so overworked and understaffed for what they're trying to do. But the two things that undermines their perceived value is, one, the ease in which you can get certified without actually having anything. So many people, some like clients of mine, it's like you just go and you submit a bunch of stuff. You don't have to have a manual. You don't have to have trainer notes, nothing, no assessments, no quizzes, no exams, no rubrics, nothing. And you can still get certified. And now I perceive from what I see that that's changing, where you have to have a really solid kind of full training in place before they give you the thumbs up, which I'm like, great, because I think that's why some people are scared too about getting recertified, because they're like, all of a sudden they have to go back and actually step up their ante, which I think is going to make their education so much better. So I'm a fan of that. The other reason that Yoga Alliance has been kind of seen as, which undermines their credibility, has been the lack of enforcement. I don't know if that's going to be able to change. But I agree with you. I think this is a step in the right direction in terms of bringing us all to an industry standard, which is more robust and we're less able to laugh it off or feel grouchy about it.
Yeah, let's definitely laugh it off or feel grouchy. And what do you mean when you're talking about enforcement?
Like, for example, I could submit, and schools have done this, like YogaWorks submitted their, sorry, my computer shut up. Like, for example, YogaWorks submitted their syllabus and got registered eons ago, however many years ago. Other schools did that when people weren't really looking that closely. And no one's gone back. Now they're going to go back every 3 years and review you, right? But I mean, there's no enforcement. In other words, it's all voluntary compliance. I know so many studios, like, think about all of these. They're trying to do like 10-day, 200-hour trainings. It's just impossible. Like, they're not adhering to the standards. So someone goes and gets their school registered and says they're giving 180 contact hours, and then turns around and offers a 10 or a 12-day, 200-hour training. It's not possible. And they're only doing like 120 contact hours, maybe. And that would be grueling, right? So,
and that, brutal.
And Yoga Alliance doesn't have the resources to go and actually check and look at everyone's schedule and see that they're adhering to the program that they even submitted. I submitted a module once, which like had a ridiculous name to it, just to see if anyone was checking. But it's not their fault. It's just they haven't had the manpower to really give oversight to these things.
Yeah. So, well, and you know what? Even if they did, even if there were the Yoga Alliance police, you know, that like checked on everything, every program, every continuing education unit, there would still be folks that would try to get over, because we're humans. That's what we do.
Totally.
And so I think that the opportunity is that if there is, the standard starts higher, then the bottom is higher too, right? So it kind of pulls the bottom up. So instead of it being a complete, like, whatever this thing that you submitted, like how to make muffins 101 or something, I don't know what you called it, you know.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous.
Cat yoga for grown-ups, or I don't know, you know, whatever you submitted for, it will still pull the bottom up, right? It will pull the bottom up. It will make us be striving for something greater to start, which will mean that everyone along the way will have to do a little better. And so,
yeah, I agree. Huge improvement.
And you know, I'm not a hater. I don't hate anybody's hustle. I don't like, you know, whatever it took for you to get that program up and to get students into that program, and whatever offering that you genuinely gave to those students, you know, was real. And I'm sure they got something out of it. You know, I don't think anybody just came out of a training with zero, right? With nothing. Yeah. Could they have gotten a whole lot more? Are there experiences that are richer and more potent and at a higher quality level or a higher depth of content level? Absolutely. So I think having a few more checks and balances will just help help bring the quality level up across the board.
Yeah. And the good news is people have time. Like Yoga Alliance has been generous in the sense that even though they're starting to implement the new standards in February, if you're currently a school, when you renew, you can opt to up, or you can wait another year and then you have to. So you have time to kind of get your house in order a little bit. So
wait, say that again?
Yeah. So starting next February 2020, if you're a new school, you apply underneath the new standards. If you're renewing a school, you can renew for one more year just as is. At least this is my understanding. So you actually, by 2022, we're all going to be on the new bar, but we have some leeway time to there's some time. Like you could take next year to really get your training all in order and still be certified and still running. So people have some space. So that's good.
With renewal programs. That's really great.
Yeah.
That's really great. And something else that was super interesting that I learned yesterday, which, I mean, it's, and I felt like such a banana, because I'm like, sometimes there's so much information that's like there and you don't see it, and then you're like down the rabbit hole with what you think you don't know or what's happening. And then you're like, oh, look at this entire 22-page pamphlet, that explains it. But I didn't know that there was a Yoga Alliance Foundation that gives scholarships, because one of the arguments that I was chatting with Leslie Kamenoff about, he was saying, well, if people are forced to take in a certain level of education, there's also a monetary factor, to be considered. So if you have to all of a sudden go out and take a 300, if you want to become a teacher trainer, that's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
Someone has to be responsible for. So there's actually a scholarship program, which I had no idea
It's kind of, unless you search their site, I remember encountering that too, but it's not front and center, right? So no, that's great that you bring that up. Well, I'm conscious of our time, so this has been fun. I have a feeling we have a couple more conversations in us on this subject.
We have so much to talk about. You're such a nerd. I love it. I am too. I say that because I feel a fellow nerdship.
Feel the nerd thing. It's the nerd.
I feel the nerd thing, and it's good. It's good. So thanks for having me. It was very exciting though, because I realized that it's a bigger conversation, and it doesn't need, progress is not perfect. And progress isn't perfect. We're all doing our best, and we can all do better.
Spiral up. All right,
you are awesome.
Okay. Bye.